Sometimes how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with me. Your emails and Facebook comments are coming up at the bottom of this hour. I have a guest with just a heartbreaking story, folks. It's mind-blowing. As you know, if you've been listening to me for 30 minutes or so, you know I am against abortion. I do not support abortion unless the mother's life is at risk, which is rare. But abortion has gone out of control. It really has. It is, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I have with me Joe Slobodzian. He is a criminal court reporter for the Philadelphia Inquiry. And there's a trial that started this week, I believe, about an abortion doctor who happened to be black. And this guy delivered healthy babies, according to the report, and then killed them with scissors. Just horrible situation. Joe, good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's nice to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
No, I appreciate you being here. For those who haven't heard of Kermit Gosnell, I believe.
It's Kermit Gosnell.
Gosnell. Tell the folks about him and how did this case come to light?
Well, Dr. Gosnell is, he's now 72 years old. He's a native of West Philadelphia. His family has been there for a long time. Grew up, went to Dickinson College, prestige school, Jefferson University Medical School in Philadelphia, and has been a community practitioner for a long time. He specialized in abortions. He had his own clinic, and particularly in late-term abortions. And he's done that since probably 1979.
Joe, tell the people, what is late-term abortion?
Anything after the second trimester, after 24 weeks, is considered a late-term abortion in Pennsylvania, and most states also.
All right.
And what happened with him, it actually, Dr. Gosnell came under investigation by the Drug Enforcement Administration. There was some indication that he was selling prescriptions for OxyContin and other controlled narcotics that were flooding the streets of West Philadelphia. On February 18th of 2010, a state federal task force served a search warrant, and rather than the drugs, they found several abortions ongoing, and, as the prosecutor calls it, a house of horrors. Pretty much, as I wrote about today, specimen jars with the severed feet of infants in his cabinets, and just unsanitary conditions, and that was the start of it.
Amazing. This guy is charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder.
Correct.
And you're sitting in the courthouse there, so you're hearing the testimonies and things. When did this trial start?
Testimony started on March 18th, earlier this week.
And he's been charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder, and he could possibly get the death penalty there, right?
Yes, Pennsylvania does have the death penalty, and if the jury convicts him of first-degree murder, the jury would then hear additional evidence and decide whether to sentence him to life in prison, which in Pennsylvania there's no possibility of parole, or death by lethal injection.
Amazing. You wrote about a woman, one of the women who testified, her testimony. And apparently this woman wasn't even trained to perform abortions. Tell us about this woman, Adrian Moulton, and others who were working with this so-called abortion doctor.
Well, essentially, there were probably only 2 employees who were trained, had any sort of medical training. One was a man named Steve Massoff, who was a medical school graduate but never licensed. And the other is a woman actually on trial with him, Eileen O'Neill, who again is a medical school graduate but not licensed. And both of them worked in the clinic, although O'Neill did not do abortions. But the other clinic employees, including Dr. Gosnell's own wife, had no training, and he would essentially train them. And if anybody asked questions, according to the court evidence, he would say, "Don't worry, I'm a doctor. I trained you. You're quote grandfathered in, so you don't need to get a license." The prosecutor says that Dr. Gosnell specialized in sort of bringing along poor women, limited educations, and it was sort of like bringing them in and giving them a place to work and a place to, in Adrian Moulton's situation, a place to live. She first met Dr. Gosnell because she went to school with his niece, and Adrian testified that she got pregnant, got an abortion from Dr. Gosnell, and went on to move in. And he took care, when she had trouble with her family, he took care of her. He and his wife took care of her and raised her in the house.
Amazing.
This is one of the things that's really contradictory. Dr. Gosnell took in and in one case, I believe, adopted a girl as and raised her as a daughter, in addition to his own children, and he seemed to do that a lot.
This woman, Adrian, she testified, according to what you wrote here, that she helped the doctor to kill at least 10 infants born during a late-term abortion?
Yes, and again, this is sort of the very, it just shows you the sort of atmosphere. She was brought in, she started working in the clinic doing sterilizing instruments, and then he told her how to do ultrasounds, and then she started doing anesthesia, and then she started helping out in abortions, and Ms. Moulton actually testified that she did on her own, killed 10 infants. They called the technique snipping, by severing the spines with a pair of surgical scissors.
Wow.
And she said that Dr. Gosnell taught her how to do it.
And they would do this once the baby was born.
If the child was born alive during the abortion procedure, according to the testimony and the grand jury report, the doctor would snip the spines of the infant, and the child obviously would die.
Did she, Adrian, did she appear to be feeling, did she feel badly about this? Did she have any conscience about it at all? Or
no, she does. Adrian Moulton was originally charged with Dr. Gosnell on counts of first-degree murder. She arranged a plea deal with the prosecutor here in Philadelphia, and she's testifying as part of a plea deal. So they reduced the charges in her case to third-degree murder. She could still serve essentially a life sentence as a result of that. But she testified against the doctor for the prosecution, and she did seem remorseful and very upset at times about what she did and what was going on in the clinic. I think the one that really affected her was this child that is identified as baby boy A, who was born, we believe, born during an abortion in 2008, and she said she saw the body at her workstation and was so shocked at how large the body was, and she said it looked like a baby to her, and she took a photograph of it, which is become key evidence in the case against Dr. Gosnell.
Really? And so, did she take the picture in order to expose this doctor, or why did she take it?
She said when she testified that this really upset her. She said, something about it didn't seem right, and I wanted to take a photograph to record that. And after they raided the clinic of Dr. Gosnell, she turned over her cell phone to the authorities, and they retrieved the photograph, and that is a piece of the evidence in the case against him now.
Good for her. 888-7753-773. We're going to take a quick break and come back to Joe in a moment. We're talking about this trial that's going on in Philadelphia right now. This black abortionist, killing children after they were born. And it's been reported that he delivered healthy babies and then killed them with scissors. These are black folks doing it to black people. And where's the outcry from the so-called black civil rights leaders? Can you imagine what would happen if this doctor had been a white doctor, discovered killing black children after they were born? Al Sharpton and Jackson and the NAACP, the Black Caucus, and the godless black preachers would be all over this, crying racism. But not a word about this. Wake up. All of Americans, but especially black Americans. Every day, over 1,800 black babies are aborted. Every day. Every day. Joe is with me. He is a criminal court reporter for the Philadelphia Inquiry, and he's sitting in on this trial. Joe, what happened to Dr. Gosnell's mind? I mean, as you said, he was a smart man, educated. Has anyone reported what happened to him? And is his wife in jail at this point as well?
As for what happened to Dr. Gosnell's mind, in court he seems cordial, cooperative with his attorney. He seems very professional. And actually, this is one of the, I guess, mysteries of this case. How did this thing occur? We haven't received an answer to that question yet. I mean, we know in part that, and this is a different aspect of the case, that the state of Pennsylvania did not inspect abortion facilities for almost a decade, which probably explains partly why this was allowed to go on for so long.
Yes.
They never had an inspector going in. As for Pearl Gosnell, who is the doctor's third wife, she pleaded guilty. She was charged with him because she was involved in the operation of the facility. She pleaded guilty. She has not been sentenced yet. And from all indications, she will not be testifying at the trial.
That's pretty common, though, right?
What's that? Not testifying?
Right.
Yeah, in U.S. law, there is what's called a spousal privilege that you can't compel a spouse to testify against the other spouse. So as far as I know, she won't be testifying.
But she will be going to prison.
Yes, at some point. Of the 9 employees who were charged with Dr. Gosnell, all but Eileen O'Neill have and are awaiting sentencing. Some more of the employees will testify at the trial later on. It's supposed to go on for probably 6 to 8 weeks, and after the trial is over, they will start sentencing the co-defendants.
I read that you tweeted on the first day of the trial that Dr. Gosnell's attorney said that the babies were not born alive, and that the doctor is a victim of elitist lynching.
Elitist, racist prosecution.
Did the folks just shake their head, the jury just shake their head and say, look, don't break, this has nothing to do with that?
Well, juries are hard to read. And it's hard to know what to make of that defense argument. I mean, the attorney, Jack McMahon, is a former prosecutor in Philadelphia. He's been practicing law in Philadelphia, criminal law, for probably 20 or 30 years, and is considered one of the best defense lawyers now in the city of Philadelphia. We'll have to wait and see how the defense develops on this whole issue. It's the fact is that this investigation was started and proceeded under the District Attorney of Philadelphia, Seth Williams, who is African American.
Elitist lynching of a black man, prosecution lynching of a black man. That's amazing. The jury, is it predominantly black? How many men, how many women?
There are 7 women and 5 men on the jury, and of the 12 main jurors, 8 of them are African American, and the 4 are white.
Oh, man. I hope they don't fall for this lynching of a black man to comment.
Well, juries, I've been watching juries and trials for probably close to 20 years now, and it's interesting, Jesse, because I think they're smarter than people give them credit for. I mean, there are always the trials that have an outcome that seems to run counter to the evidence, but the evidence so far has been very, very strong in this case, and juries generally keep their eye on the ball, from what I see.
This sounds like a rough case to sit in on and to hear, to be a part of, because the stories are so sad. Are you being affected at all by this in any way?
There are certainly days where it's hard to sit in court. Anybody who has any humanity left in them would not be affected by this. One of the things I try to do is look at the evidence and try to get across a sense of that these are human beings, and try to figure out how they got there. That's what makes sitting through some of the horror and the painful testimony bearable, I think.
And I believe you said, but they have pictures of these babies that were murdered after being aborted. Are they showing those pictures at the trial?
Yes. And there's no way to get around them. I mean, yesterday the jury saw, for example, this Adrian Moten's photograph of baby boy A, and it's hard to get around this baby lying in this bin after the abortion. They also saw a photograph of another newborn from the rear, just the rear of the neck, where you could see this hole where the spine had been snipped. And
wow.
There's just, it's hard to get around the impact of that.
I can imagine.
The prosecutors have also brought in all of the equipment and furnishings from one of his procedure rooms, and it's in the middle of the courtroom, so that the witnesses, when they refer to a piece of equipment or a procedure, they can actually point out the piece of equipment that Dr. Gosnell used.
Oh, man.
So it's a pretty surreal scene in the courtroom, that's for sure.
Joe, what's your website? We're out of time here.
The website is Philly.com.
Joe, thank you so much. We're going to have you back as this case moves forward. Excellent reporting. Thank you for this.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I'd be happy to come back.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
Take care.
Okay. 888-7753-773. Back in a moment.